Hello?
Hey everyone, good evening. So
Good
we are
evening.
waiting for two more minutes, okay? All right, guys. So let's start with the session. So as you all know, this is demo class number 2. We had a session yesterday, and in the last class, I demonstrated some example. Okay. So anyone remember what example did I demonstrate in the last class?
Checking pre and post logs.
Yes, not only pre and post, to take a diff check report. Okay, to take a diff check report of your pre and post. Once you do a maintenance window, once you do iOS upgradation, once you migrate to another vendor, you usually do pre and post, right? So that report we did, and we generated the diff check report. So those guys have not watched it or could not attend. The recording is also available on our YouTube channel. Okay, so you can take it from here. Day number 1. All right, so let's start with the agenda today. So how many of you have attended yesterday, and how many of you are attending for the first time today? Anyone who is attending for the very first time?
Yes. Hello, Mr. Saga.
Yeah, hi, Togba.
Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How
Yeah,
about you?
today's my first time. I think I missed yesterday class. I wasn't sure of the time. So
Okay.
today's my first time.
Okay. All right. So these are just 2 demo classes. The actual batch will start from Monday. Okay. All right. How about others? How many had joined the last class?
Yeah, Sagar, I have joined the last class.
Okay. Okay.
I also joined yesterday.
All right. So you guys are familiar with Python? Basic?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. So can I test your knowledge? Okay, very simple questions. Don't worry. What is this in Python called as?
ID.
No. The thing what I've written here, what it stands for?
It's variable.
What is variable in this?
Uh, X is variable.
X is variable. And what is this?
It's what you call as an I think it's object.
Okay, so that is your data. Any piece of information you want to store it to variable, but this is of type string. Okay, it's of type string characters. If I replace X with some numbers, now what is this called?
It's a numerical digit
Okay, so it's called numbers.
number.
Okay, let's say I have multiple data. Let's assume a real-time scenario that I have multiple devices with me, right? So let's say I put the multiple device IP in this order: 1.1.1, comma 2.2.2, comma 3.3.3. Now what is this? So basically these are three different data separated by comma. Okay, and stored in the variable X. So what is your point of understanding when I say variable now? What do you think? What is variable?
Variable that stores the data which you provide.
Yeah, it's a empty container which stores the data. Okay, and transmit the data across the channel. Which channel? The read and write channel. Variable. Okay, so it's an empty container where you store the data and which is used for transmitting the data across the channel. So what data? What are the different type of data? So we just saw something called string, right? We saw something like numbers. We know there could be some list of data, multiple data. Correct. So these are something which we use in our networking production as well. So when I say in networking production, what all things do you deal with? Let's say port number, right? You say port 80, or you say port is 443. When you say IP, let's say some IP you are managing. When you're dealing with multiple IPs, right? So what do? You just have it in this order. Correct? Multiple data you can store inside the list. What else? Your username, password. Create a variable for username and store the data. Create the variable password and store the data inside it. Correct. So this is how you hold the data inside Python. You write it in a proper structure, and when you execute it, your Python program know what is username, what is password, which comes first, which comes second, which comes third. Okay, so this has to be written in a proper way inside your script. Okay, so these are some basic fundamentals here. So let's assume that I say X equals to ABC. Okay, and I want my computer to read that for me. So I can take a print. When I take a print of it, okay, so let me run this script first. So it is reading out the data that is stored inside that variable. I said print X, in the sense whatever that variable X is storing, you give it to me. The computer is reading that. But what would have been the condition if I would have kept this way? What do you think? See, there are two lines here, line number 2 and line number 3. So tell me the difference between the two.
There is a column. I mean, I call it the X is number 4 is different from number 2. There's two different types of data.
Okay, so let's say what happens in line 2? What is line 2
In
going to
line
do?
2, it will print ABC, but in line 4 it will print X.
Yes. So here what happens is you have embedded the data within the print function. Whereas on the line number 2, you're calling a variable which is storing some data. So these are two different ways. One is you're storing the data itself. The second thing is you're calling a variable which is storing something else. Okay. So if I execute this program, so you see what line number 2 generates the output, which is nothing but ABC. And what is line number 4 gonna generate? It's gonna generate that X itself, because X is acting as the data. Okay. When you see that inverted comma, that is nothing but that's a string in data type. Okay. So if you would have kept it in this order, this way, then it will fetch you ABC itself for both the results. Okay. X equals to ABC, or let's say X equals to 100, Y equals to 200, or let's say in this way, print, or let me, instead of print, let's say Z equals to X plus Y. I'm going to add both of them. That is X and Y. I'm gonna add them. And let's take a print of Z. So tell me what the answer would be. What do you think the answer would be? 300, 400, 500, 200.
100, 200. Right.
So now you tell me what would be the answer.
300.
300. Okay, still you say 300. Why? Because you saw the
Stored data equal to Z.
You're adding two variables, right?
yes. So yes. So you have to know. Yeah. Yeah. So here these are not numbers. These are string. Okay. When you try to add two string, they will concatenate and form this result. 100, 200. If they has to be addition, then remember they shouldn't be inserted within that inverted comma. They should have been stored in a numerical format. Then you can add them. So if I execute this program now, so it will give you the result in this order: 100, 200, because these data are in string nature. Okay. But let's say you wanted really them to be added up, then you have to take them out of string format and store in a numerical format. Now you add, it will give you 300. Okay. So those are very basic concept here, like what makes string, what is variable, what is the calculators, or whatever the sum or etc. Okay. So you can do all the mathematical operators, subtraction, division, etc, etc. All right. So let's say that inside your script, you want to prompt for username. See, now I can store username as admin and I can run this program. But let's say when you're executing this in your production, you don't want to store your own username and password. Instead, you want the engineer to input their user and password whenever they execute this program. Correct? So you don't want to store them statically to this variable. Who knows? They might reboot the device using your username. So it's not good practice to store them. Instead, you want a prompt that is prompted during the execution, and the engineer will type their username. Say, for example, when I say input, enter the username. Okay. And if I execute this program, you see what your program is going to ask for. It is asking for you to input your username. And here is where you can input it. Let's say you input it as whatever username is. When you press it, it process and it will take a SSH and it will continue with the program. So this is called input function. It also, you can just say that it prompts you for data. Okay, you can associate this with anything. You can associate with username, password, IP address, show commands, let's say any config push. For anything, you can integrate with this sort of input method. Let's say you wanted to input for password. So how would you write it? You say that password, enter the password, correct? Let's say you wanted some CLI commands to be pushed. Okay, so you say that input and you can insert, enter the CLI command. Okay, so when you execute them, it is gonna ask you, you're gonna enter all your details. Okay, show IP int brief, enter. So this is how you can make your script interactive instead of storing something in a fixed data. What would be the alternative way? I would have kept it all on my screen like this, right? But my password is getting revealed. Anyone can use the script and run this, and if there is any reload happening, then I would be accountable for that. So why store our credential on the script when we have this options in the Python program? I can make it more interactive or more dynamic. So when input comes, then the program will process for that particular login user. Okay, and once the program is done, it will terminate. When the next person comes, he has to re-enter all the details once again. Okay, so this is an input method here in Python. Okay, now let's say that let's talk about some iteration process. Again, it's highly used, iteration process. Now what happens in iteration process? Say, for example, you had multiple devices. Okay, so let me say this is device 1, which is 1.1.1. This is the username for it. Let me go with the input method. Enter the username. Okay, let's go with the password. Enter the password. Let's go with the CLI command. Enter your CLI command. Okay, so this is for device 1. But you know that usually in networking, we always deal with 100, 200 or more than 1000 at a time, or at least 30, 40, usually not single at least, right? So if I am writing it for multiple devices, if I'm interacting with multiple devices, maybe I would have to write now this for 2.2.2. This is username, password, CLI command for that particular device. You recopy that, you will make it for 3.3.3, username, password, so and so. Correct. So when you execute this, so it is asking you for
Sagar,
the, yes, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt. So if we are making it for multiple devices, then device 1, 2, 3 will be mentioned, or device 111? Like you have mentioned here.
Sorry, which line?
The first line number 5, I guess it will be DVC2, because we are changing the IP.
See, this is just a layman's example. Okay, as of now.
Okay.
It is not practically used anywhere, but if it is creating a concern, then I'll make it device 2 and device 3.
Okay, means we have to change if multiple devices are there.
Not necessarily required, because variable is a temporary term, right? It can when your script is running for line number 1, this is the data within that.
Okay.
If you reuse the variable later on line number 5, and if you're storing a new data, the new data will appear at that part of line.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
variables are changeable, mutable in nature.
Sure.
Okay,
Thank
but
you.
anyway, I will write it in terms of device 1, device 2, and device 3. Okay, so 3 devices, and if I execute here, enter the username, enter the password, enter the CLI command. Now it is going for the second device. I enter all those things. Once again, I type the same command. Now it is going towards the third device. Okay, I'm going to give all username, password, and all these things. Right now, you just think how heavy this would be for one to execute if there were 100 devices. And also from the program size, you just see that for 3 devices it took 12 line. For 10 device, just increase it by another 4 line for each if it is taking three lines. So let's say for 10 device it would be 30 line. For 100 devices it's gonna be 300 line of script, right? So why should we write all the devices one after one? Why can't we just simplify the process using some iteration method? Okay, so how would I iterate them? How would I simplify the whole repetitive task in a very simple way? What I do is I'll make use of some list and for loop method now. So inside my list, I'll store all the devices that I'm been talking to. So let's say I have 1.1.1, I have 2.2.2 device, and 3.3.3 series of device. Okay, all 3 I stored in list format. We know that list can accumulate multiple data. Now I'll make use of for loop. I'll say that for XYZ in this list. Okay, and then I'll just put all of this line in a iteration, and I'll just remove whatever is not required. So let's say, for example, I don't need all this now. Okay, let's take one by one device from the integration that we are carrying over here. And I can also store it, all these 3 lines, I can store it here, because after all, the username, password, and the CLI, what I was entering, show IP in brief, that's all same, right? So I don't need to trigger them individually. Now, this is the simplified method. Now you have 6 line, you can go with like into 1000 devices as well. And you don't worry about increasing any further line to this, because this 6 line can accumulate all your 1000 devices. Okay, now I'll show you how it works. So if you run this program, it is going to ask you for the very first time, admin, password is Cisco, this is your command which you want to execute, and then enter. That's all. It will just run across on all of them, the same command, and it will fetch you the data for them, whatever command you have been placing. So it's only 6 line that can be used instead of writing block by block for device perspective. You don't have to write it from device perspective. So this is a very regularly using concept in our programming. Okay, this concept we always use, because we always deal with multiple devices. We rarely see a Python script written for one. If it is one device, I would say don't run automation, open the device via SSH and do whatever you want to do. Automation is only when you have multiple devices and you want to cut down the manual effort. Okay, so this is one way of simplifying the whole task. We have not added any library, so we are just talking from theory point of view right now. You can also, you can, in case if your devices are having different credentials.
Excuse me, Sagar.
Yes, go ahead.
I got a question. Does XYZ represent admin, Cisco, and show IP interface brief? Is that what it's representing into the list?
No, it is not. It is not representing show IP into brief. Okay, let me tell you what it is representing. So XYZ is the name of this for loop, and it is integrated with multi command. Okay, that is this one, multi command. So what XY does is there are three data kept here. So each time it's gonna process. Okay, so how the process happens is, for the first time it's gonna take the index 0. It will process for that data. Now that data is 1.1.1.1. You are making SSH to device 1.1.1. You will input your username, password, and you will run the show IP into brief. And once you go back, now your XYZ becomes multi command index of 1. Now what is index of 1? These are all Python concept. Remember, these are indexable. Okay, I can just say like a placeholder, in simple term, placeholder. And index starts with 0, not with 1 2 3. It starts with 0 0 1 2 3. So index of 0 is your data 1, index of 1 is your data 2, and then index of 2 is your data 3. Okay, so if you see here, XYZ equals to multi command 0, which is nothing but the first data. It will process, then reiterates. XYZ is now multi command 1, and then it goes to the last data. Okay, and then once all the three datas are being executed, the for loop will also get disconnected. I'll give you one simple logic now. How does this for loop work? So let's say I have multi-device stored here. Okay, multi-device I have kept in the list format. So I got 1.1.1, 2.2.2.2, and 3.3.3. Correct. Now let's draw a flow diagram, flow chart. So within this flow chart, it's always gonna check, is this last data? Question mark. Okay, so let's say once the first data is coming over here, which is XYZ equals to multi 0. Okay, one at a time. Let's say the first data comes in. It's gonna see whether that's the last data. There could be two conditions, two possibility, whether yes, it's really the last data, or no, it's not the last data. Now, when it is not the last data, it goes back on reiteration. Okay, but when it is going back, it's gonna also process all that command that we had kept inside them. Like I kept show IP int brief, I kept username for it, I kept password for it, right? So one device, all these three gets executed, go back. Now the second device comes here. Now what is XYZ? XYZ is now multi index of 1. Is that the last data? No. Once again, follow this process. All the checks will be happened. Username, password, show IP int will get processed. Go back. Now the third element come back. Okay, it will process. But yes, the next element of it is a gonna be false condition. So 3.3.3 will get executed. Next, when it comes for the fourth element, which is definitely not present, which will hit the true condition. And in the true condition, what happened? You come out of your for loop. Okay, so this is how the process happened. And that is what it happened in this condition. XYZ is related to this right now. That is what we integrated with multi-command. So any doubt, Togba?
Oh, I got it. That's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Now you see, in case of you wanted to keep a username and password all separated out for which is to each devices, so you can execute them. It says that enter your CLI command. Let's say you want to enter this CLI on all the 3 devices, but for each device the username might be different. Okay, let's say now this is Tim, password is something different. Now this is Bob, password is something else. Okay, this can be also a situation when you have multiple devices but they are using different credentials. Sometimes you see that all devices will have a very common credentials, right? So we have the solution for everything here in automation. You just need to know what is your requirement and you can bring it on your script. All right. Okay, so now these were some basic script. Now, without any further ado, I had told you guys I'll show you some example. Okay, so in the example set, I want to take Palo Alto as a vendor. I want to show you one Python script today. What is this Python script gonna do? This Python script gonna go and check what is the host name of that, what is the management IP of that Palo Alto, what is the current utilization going on, what is the total utilization that is present inside Palo Alto, and also give me the utilization or bandwidth utilization in a percentage manner. Okay, and how do I want this? I want this in a CSV file. Okay, so I want all this detail in a CSV file. And again, I'm gonna use Python as a programming language. Now, how would I get host name, management IP, current utilization, all this, which I can store it very neatly in the CSV file. So CSV file, you just imagine they have a proper columns. They got a header. Okay, let's say you have you're storing host name over here. You want to store management IP, you want to store utilization, you want to store the percentage bandwidth utilization going across, and accurate data, correct? So which command in CLI can give me accurate data? Accurate data in the sense, if I say the host name, it should give me as this, like PA01. If I ask for IP, it should give me 1.1. If I ask for some utilization, it should give me the exact number. I don't want the output coming in this way. Okay, you might have seen that your network CLI consists of lot of information. You just open any Palo Alto device. Okay, let's say I have one Palo Alto device with me right away. So let me log into the console. Okay, now let me do a show system info on this. It is going to give me all the details, but I don't need all the detail. There is no room inside my CSV that I can store all of them. I need accurate data. If I say IP, then I want only IP, because there could be 100 of Palo Alto. I cannot afford storing that entire line. Let's say it is giving me uptime. I don't want that entire line as a statement to be getting copied. I need only the data. That is this. It should tell me only the actual data, because where is that uptime gonna be? It is gonna be in your headline, correct? So under uptime, you will store the data one after one. So you need only the very specific data, and you cannot get that data with just your pipe include, pipe section, pipe begin. They will not give you the exact data, correct? So we have to use some additional concept here in your inside your Python script, and this is called as regex. How many of you heard about regular expression? Anyone here who heard about regular expression?
Yes, yes. We use it in BGP.
Yes, for BGP peers and all you use it, right? So you use it on the CLI or on the Python script?
On CLI.
Okay. Yeah. So here we will use it along with Python. Along with Python, I'll integrate regular expression. It will go and find out where that data is and start making the Excel preparation. And at the end, this Excel is 100% ready. You just have to, let's say, change the color font or some text font. Feel free to change and send it over on email. Okay. So let me now run that script. Okay. So for now, I have one device, one Palo Alto device with me, and its IP is this 172.16.25.145. So what I will do is I'll just add that IP multiple times so that my CSV looks bit of data. Otherwise, it will look only one few data for one device, right? So I just want to have some more data inside this. So otherwise, in your production, you definitely will have a different management IP for each Palo Alto. You can just keep them and you can use it. For here in the lab scenario, since I have only one Palo Alto, I'm just keeping a duplicate out of it because my purpose is to get the CSV file, the output for it. So I want to see how that would look like. And where am I gonna take that? Let's also check that. So if I open this, let's say this is a blank folder. As soon as I finish my script, I am expecting something generated over here, which I will open, see the content of it. Okay. Where is the script? Now script is here. Again, it's a lengthy script. You can see the script easily go till 80 to 82 lines to finish this complete set of regular expression, taking SSH to the device, data collection, okay, the CSV preparations, and etc, etc. So we'll discuss this in the class. Now this is your demo class. You will not be able to understand what is happening. So just I'll give you example. At least you can digest it, like what is about. Okay. Let me run this. I'll right click on this. Okay. And you keep that empty folder next to this. So it will make a contact to each Palo Alto, each in the sense one after one, and fetch the details, store in the CSV, go back to the second device of that notepad, fetch it, put the data in the CSV, and CSV will gradually start increasing. So now if you see, it is having 179 bytes of data. Okay, this was for first device, first Palo Alto. So now it went and contacted the second device. So your size of the Excel also increased here. So it will take some time, might be some 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, or less than that, depending upon what vendor. If it was iOS file, it would have just taken 10 to 20 seconds to finish and create that. For Palo, it takes little more. Even ASA or any next generation firewalls, etc., it takes a bit more. Okay.
Hi Sagar, I have one query and
Yes, go ahead.
question like which is the right time to use REST APIs or Python script for a Palo Alto, since nowadays device supports the REST API as well. So if we use the REST APIs with the Postman tool, whether is it a great idea, or with the Python script is a great idea, or where we can use the right tool, or Python script.
See, those REST
Mhm.
API that you're using, the REST API can also be converted into Python, and over on PyCharm you can execute them. Okay, so it's not that REST API don't work over on Python. Even REST API you convert into Python script and you can execute via Python method.
Yeah, so is REST API is way better than Python? Like if we do the same task with REST APIs.
Yes, you can work with API, but only to fetch it. How would you create the
Yeah.
Excel?
Yeah.
For that
Okay.
you need again a Python script for that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, with API you can test, you can fetch, you can config. Okay, but how would you make a CSV with that? You cannot make a CSV with API. For that you need a Python with the necessary required Python library. Okay, so depending upon your requirement, you have to match 2 or 3 items. Like if you want to go with API method, then API and the Python you integrate and you fetch it. If you think you can take it from NetMiko or any Python library, that is also good way of taking it. It's all different method. That is why in this curriculum, I'll first start with Python and its library. Then I'll go to Ansible. Then I'll go to API as well, because people sometimes only config and fetch the data. So for them, I'll show the API method.
Thanks.
Okay. And then I'll also show you the API with the Python integration. In case how do you read from CSV or store back in CSV and all. Okay, so I see the file is generated, Excel is generated. It's over here. Let's open and check this. So you can see the data with stored here. If you go with manual process, this would have taken lot of time. And since it's a automated way, you have the data with you. So this is for host name, management IP, net mask, model type of that Palo Alto software version. This is the total memory, used memory, and this is the percentage. Percentage is in your uh, uh, in a percentage concept. Okay, so what we have done is we have put some mathematical formula inside the Python script to get that percentage. If you see here over on line 46, so I've put a mathematical formula. So I say that the free memory with total memory modular symbol, which is gonna use for division, and then multiplied by 100, which is gonna give me the outcomes in a percentage basis. Okay, so a bit on the script side, I know you may not able to catch, but just 2 minutes on it to explain. These are called headers. I'm calling NetMiko library, regex library, OS library, and CSV library. These are all the headers. I'm adding all the Palo Alto devices in this location inside this text. My Python is reading that particular text and fetching the data and putting down in the list method. Once I have the list, I have integrated it with the for loop. I showed this example today as well. I put some list and for loop, right? So wait, in which line am I gonna get that list? That is line number 6. And that line number 6, I'm integrating over here, or over on this line 7 for single Palo in list device. Okay. So that's nothing but the one which we did. See this one only. I told you we will use this regularly because you deal with multi-device always. So that is the whole concept there. Since we are using NetMiko, we are storing all our data in the dictionary. We are supplying that dictionary as in keyword argument to the function connect handler, where the process will start. So there are two things that happen. One is the device type is checked. Once the connect handler determines that your device type is good, okay, or I can say recognized in the sense this module will support 30 plus vendor, Cisco or Junos, Palo, etc. And if it can recognize this, okay, so it says that yes, I have recognized, and now it will send it to the next process, that is base connection. And in the base connection, all the other attributes like IP, username, password, connection timeout, all of them get considered. It start taking SSH one after one. So this is first device. Then it will go through all the data collection. It will take X data collection for show system resource. Y variable is storing all this data, show interface management. The Z variable is taking all show system info. Okay. Once you have all the data with you, now you will run the regex on those variables. So when you wanted host name to be fetched, you said you want to run it against Z data collection. When you wanted management IP to be collected, you want to run it against Y, because that is gonna give you the management detail. When you need to take the subnet mask, it is found on the Y. So you have all the data here, and you will apply all the rejects against those data. If you do any cross connection, then the rejects will not be able to find those data. Okay, it's like, say for example, a drop down scenario. Let's say that I have X, Y, and Z. And on the right hand side, I have the output for show system resource, show system info, show interface management. Okay. And let's say you're applying the regex here. So let's say you want to apply the regex host here. Okay, let's say that you are applying the regex host here, regex IP over here, regex subnet here, and on the right hand side you have show system info, show system resource, and show interface management. It's like a drop down concept. Now you should know where to apply the regex. If you need to find host name, you cannot apply to this. Might be this will give you a big error, because this regex cannot find any information over there. So where do you find your host name? Might be over here. So that is what the cross connection that you have to do. You have to say that I want to find this regex on this variable. You have three variable with you, X, Y, Z, for three different commands, three different show command. So you as a network engineer should know which command is gonna give you a host name, IP, subnet, and how do you cross connect them. And once you cross connect, you can fetch it. So you will fetch over here all the host names, IPs, mask, subnet mask. This is the mode, Palo Alto version VM mode, software version where it was fetching 10 dot series. User, this is the used memory, and this is that formula that we used. Okay, so this is giving you total memory and used memory, and this is the formula. And later on, you integrated it with your CSV module. You integrated with CSV module. You said, I want to go with this header. Okay, so that is why you see that you got some header over here, which was already defined by you itself. So you check the header on the CSV. host name, management IP, so and so. Where is that coming from? That is coming from your line 53. Line 53 of your script is where you defined all this header. So whatever you do in your script, that gets reflected. Nothing is like automated, that nothing is like AI, okay, that something by itself is coming. So this is where you decide what is the header, and then you will print, and all the data that you want to print, you will map it. You will say that under host name, I want to map this variable. Under management IP, I want to map this variable. And then the data collection happens over on the CSV file. Now you can email it, you can use it for your own audit purpose, you can send it to management, or this is now your file. You can do whatever you want to do it. And now the same logic applies for any other networking concept. You're taking the current iOS version throughout your device, or you're taking the CDP neighbor throughout your enterprise. You're taking the total network exhaust in your any logic. If you want to take it in a Excel or CSV, you have to somehow start with this logic, and then you, as per the requirement, you can just tweak the existing script. Okay. All right. So this was one example where I considered Palo Alto, and we went with the SSH protocol. Right now we had 6 to 7 PA device, and the outcome was that we generated a CSV file with all the required thing, or let's say bandwidth in percentage. So any doubt here, any doubt in this requirement or in this scope? Or have you guys done this sort of automation?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
So for Palo Alto only we are only going to do with CLI commands, or is there any other method for GUI?
You are asking Palo Alto configure of Palo Alto, or from the automation side?
From the automation side. Like into automation, we are going to use the only CLI commands for Palo Alto, or like
for,
it can be automated for the GUI also?
See, to automate the GUI, you should know the API for it. Okay.
So
I'll come to that part in some time.
Okay.
All right. So let me tell you where the script was taken from our course content. So if you take Palo Alto, yeah, somewhere here. Okay, it is one of the advanced script. You have to perform all the steps to get into this. Rejects part A and save to somewhere from this module I took this. Okay. All right. So now coming to once again on a ground check. So when you have any networking device, okay, let's say iOS, XC, XR, or whatever. So what are the different mediums to connect to the box? One is over SSH, Telnet, SNMP, correct? These are most frequently used one. So first two are TCP, and then you have UDP, the third method here. And if you go towards XC, XR, SD-WAN, the next gen firewalls, etc. Now they also offer you might be Telnet for some, but not for all, SNMP. And also there is one more method over here, that is HTTP method. Okay, so you might have seen that these are all the graphical type of vendors. So when you put HTTP, we manage .com443. It will load you a beautiful vmanage dashboard where you can log in and perform the operation. If you know, or if you have worked on 𝑨𝑖𝑙𝑇𝑚, when you put HTTP, okay, it will give you the dashboard where you can configure and operate or whatever you want to do from the dashboard itself. Same goes with any vendor. But again, the problem in this scenario is, how do you automate? Correct? Because you don't want to perform the change on the dashboard by clicking on several buttons. So if you just see Palo Alto for an example, so let's take that IP, one of this IP. If I have this dashboard with me, and if someone asks me to configure 20 policy, it's a manual method over on the dashboard. I'm not going to remember CLI command, but still I have to use the dashboard to navigate from button to a couple of more buttons to configure a policy, right? There is no shortcut that I can apply on the dashboard. What do you say? Is there any shortcut that you can apply on the dashboard to add all 20 rules in a single shot?
No, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So dashboard is good that you have a graphical visibility on the things. But when it comes to configuration and all other management and all those things, you still have to do multiple clicks. Let's say I want to configure a policy, though I don't need to remember the commands, but I still have to go and click on multiple buttons, select all this field and add. And at a time, I can add only one policy. Then I finish this. Then I once again click on the add button. Now, this is a very tedious job on your day-to-day production, right? So here is where you can think about automation. So we already have seen Palo Alto with Netmiko Python library, which took the port 22. But since I was telling that Palo Alto also offers you dashboard, which is using HTTP, now feel free to make use of API calls. Okay. To some extent, you can use API calls to configure, fetch, and etc. etc. But you want some more advancement, then bring Python to that. So API along with Python, you can just advance your script. Lot of other options you can bring when you have Python inserted to that. Okay, so I'll show you some example for API calls, how it is made. Okay, so remember, nowadays all these vendors which offers graphical mode, okay, wherever you see this being used, they all have their own REST API documents. Majority of them keep on the graphical interface itself. You may not be knowing, but you should just add some few things here, and it will reflect all the possible API for that particular vendor. So APIs are given by the vendor. These are vendor specific APIs. So when you hit REST API underscore hyphen doc, sorry, REST API hyphen doc, it will open up all the APIs for you. It's like a secret document behind the Palo Alto dashboard. And if you just open, let's say you wanted to take object address, you wanted to fetch some object address. So you can see, if you want to only fetch, you can go with get method. If you wanted to create something, then you will go with the post method. How many of you know what is get, post, etc. here?
Yeah, I know. Post is to push the config and get to retrieve the config.
What else we have?
Delete as well.
Okay, what else?
Get input.
Okay, these are some of the HTTP operation. Get is to fetch, post is to submit the form or configures a config from blank, delete to delete that config, put in the sense you want to modify something. You can modify the entire element. Patch is when you're modifying a very small unit like host name or something. You can go with the patch in that scenario. So these are frequently used ones. As you can see on the left hand side, get, post, put, delete. So these are the APIs given. How would you use it now? Let me show you one example. Let's say I wanted to fetch list. Okay, so here is where the API calls for that. REST API version 10.0 object addresses. Okay, now what tool I need? I need a tool like Postman. So there are some application where you can test the calls. Okay, so let's say this is a Postman tool. I'll go to get address. Okay, so you can see that I'm making use of very similar API call that is offered by the vendor as well. REST API v10.0 object address. REST API version. This is this version, whatever you see here. These are all variables. Okay, and I just have stored them inside this environment page. You can do that. You can also put it in static mode as well. You can just put 1.1.1. But you know what will happen? For entire call, you have to do it one by one. Then for each call, you have to come and say 1.1.1. So why do you want to take that manual effort of changing everything? You can add them over here for once and then call it on your API calls. Very simple. Okay, now they are calling. You make changes to this one time and it will reflect on your address bar. Okay, so this is where I'm calling all the object from my Palo Alto. So let's see that. Let's check that. So if I say get address, I'm making use of the get method. Get in the sense fetch. It's like a read only command. Okay, go to full and you see the data over here. So you see some object with test underscore net, test underscore net 2, net 3. How do we confirm? Go back to your Palo Alto graphical dashboard. Okay, so let's see where is that object. So go to object here. And does it have that test net 1, 2 and all those things? Okay, it's over here, but it's taking time to load that. So let me run some other, or let me configure something. Let me show you by configuring something from the API itself. So I go with the post method now. Okay, make sure you're having the same IP 172.16.25.145. And whatever you want to configure, you can just add in the payload. This is acting as the payload, the data in the JSON method. Okay, so let's say you wanted to configure something of this. Copy this, keep it here, and send it. Okay, so it says successful. Status is 200. Okay, again, this is HTTP status code. we have a complete class for it. The HTTP header, response, request, status code, the operations, a lot of things we cover when we start the API. Okay, so you can see here, whatever you just configured, it's over here. Okay, so APIs are good when you're making individual call or you want to configure something and push it. But when you want to do the complex things here, read from Excel, multi Palo Altos, or take some CSV, etc. You need Python for that, Python script for that. Okay, but when you do a Python script, now you will not go with the SSH method. Instead, you will go with the HTTP method, or so-called REST API method. Okay, so you can have Python with SSH22, which you did with NetMiko, or you can go with Python HTTP. You need library like request library to handle that. And I'll give you one simple trick how to get this request library. Over here, there is a small button which is called code or snippet. So click on that. Okay, so when you click on that, there are multiple programming language that if you know, you can use it. But for us, Python is a primary language. So I'll go with Python and I'll go with the module request library. Okay, so I can take this up. This is a converted Python script. I come back over here and I'll make a new script for it. I'll say this is Palo Alto REST API method py script. Put over here. So this is your script now. Okay. You will make sure that this library is with you or not, because this is a third-party library. You have to install it. You go to settings. You click on the plus symbol and search for the request library and install it. Okay. So this has all the elements that we need. We can turn the HTTP and SSL validation, etc. We can turn that off. You can say verify false, and then you can run this script. REST API, run this. Okay, so there is some line number 22, which is while we copied something else had appeared. And one more thing, we already have this, right? So I'll configure something else. Let's say new object name. And also give a different IP. Let's say 212. Okay, and reserved some comment for that, and let's run this. So it says that status okay. It says that status okay, code 200. Let's verify this by going to the Palo Alto dashboard. Okay, so here it comes, new object name, and whatever you mentioned, it's over here. Correct. So now the Python script is written, but the Python script is talking over on the APIs. Okay, not on the SSH 22. It's over on the API, which is HTTP method. So anyone have any confusion what is happening? See, Python scripts are not always to be meant for 22. Okay, you can write Python script which can work on HTTP as well. So that is what we did just now. So whatever we did right now, it was taking up HTTP using the API calls. Okay. Again, now where this example came from. So this example we took from this topic, from the API. So I'll just put some brief on how the class will commence from Monday. So for week 1, the first week, I'll spend some time on Python theory. I'll go over on all the theoretical topic. I'll give you example. I'll give you class note. I'll give you some assignment. You guys have to make sure that you are thorough with the theory concept. Then we go towards the modules now. So here your practical will start. So first we will consider Netmiko library. So it will take easy 2 to 3 weeks or more to complete that and to see all the real-time case studies. Then I'll go with the NEPAM, Paramiko later on, then PyNTC, Nornia, okay, along with some more Python modules. So after might be a 4 to 5 weeks or after a month, we will jump towards the let's say module 3. We will jump towards the Ansible. So I'm going to cover all the concept of Ansible Galaxy, Ansible Tower, AWX, which is a Ansible dashboard. Okay. Vault, Jinja templating. All this would be the part of the the third module. Then we will get into module 4, which is dedicated for API. And here is where you will see all this HTTP operations, the HTTP header, the postman demonstration, the status code, okay, the API keys, types of API, all theory and practical, all REST API demonstrations. I'll be showing you over on Palo Alto, 𝑨𝑖𝑰𝑚, over on SD-WAN, ACI. So this will be complete coverage for API section. And then finally, we will focus on the certification part, where I would focus on the Devnet topic. Okay. And in the Devnet topic, you will learn Git, GitHub, version control, SDK package, CI/CD pipeline, some of the DevOps fundamentals. Okay. So this will be a complete official blueprint, Cisco official blueprint. We will take up 200901 exam here. This is from certification. Some of you might be looking for certification. So this is the paper that we would take up. Okay. So you will have hands-on practical knowledge, plus you will have the certification at the end of 2.5 months. You can start writing your own script. You can automate, you can build your project. You can act as a network automation consulting engineer. You can build your own project for your current or employer. If you're in a terms of promotion, this is a good time to upskill, bring some value add-on to your company, and get a highlight on yourself. Okay. So this is where the topic for the certification is, all 20901. Okay. And this is where is our website, where you can see all this put up in a proper structure. So I'll just drop this on the Zoom chat. Okay. And as our backend has already given you the contact detail, for admission, for enrollment, you have to contact us on that WhatsApp or those email ID. And that is how you will enroll to this. We will add you to the final group, and all your web portal, lab access, and all this will get started. Okay, so I'll just keep it here as well. You can take a click of it so that you can reach us after the class. And regarding the lab access, etc., this is one of the lab that we provide, which has Cisco ASA, Arista, Junos, Cisco iOS router and switches. We also have another dedicated lab where we keep Palo Alto 𝑨𝑖𝑰𝑚 and all the other labs like SD-WAN, ACI, NSO, Meraki, CML. All this I'll show you guys over on the Devnet sandbox lab. Okay, I'll show you how do you register with your private IP and how can you automate or how can you use them for the API preparations. All right, so that is a summary of this whole batch. So if do you guys have any doubt, you can let me know. I'm open for the question and answer.
Sagar, will this cover the CCNP paper 300 435?
No, this will cover DevNet paper. This paper.
200 901. Okay.
Yeah.
Even that is related to automation, right? The CCNP paper.
Yeah, that is one of the concentration paper of CCNP, right?
Yes.
So more or less it will overlap with the curriculum of this itself. Okay. More or less, most of the topic, at least 60 to 70% of topic might fall under this itself, because this is the official DevNet track.
Okay.
Sagar, this is Pratap here.
Yes,
Hello.
Go ahead.
Is there in real time whether we'll use for PyCharm to execute the commands to real devices? Is it work?
Yes, you use PyCharm or you can use Linux terminal. You can use Microsoft Visual Studio.
Okay.
Okay, these are where you write the program.
Okay. If it is running on VPN, if I connect the VPN and through VPN I can able to access the PyCharm to router connectivity, will they happen?
Correct. Yes. So let's say this is your customer where they have all the networking device, and you are over here, and the connection between them is a VPN. Okay, so you will install PyCharm over here, PyCharm Python over here. Once you connect the VPN service, okay, and you can test it first with your terminal whether you have SSH connectivity to the device or not. If you are good with SSH connectivity, then you can run any script from here. Okay, and it will make the connection, it will talk to the device.
Fine. Okay.
Yes, guys. So anything which you guys could not digest today? How many of guys followed the API example and the regex example?
I'm using the API for my infrastructure.
Okay.
So I'm using generally DNA, working on DNA APIs.
Okay, for DNA technology. Okay.
But there are few concerns about the Ansible tower. Once you would be there, I will ask on that period of time.
Yes, Ansible tower. So you're using Ansible tower in production?
Yes, we do.
Okay, okay. So what do you do in Ansible Tower? Are you using surveys and all?
Actually, I'm not completely into, but once you get into, I'll let you know because
Okay. So in Ansible Tower, I'll go in depth there as well. I wanted to show you today, but I think my license got expired just sometime before the class. So I wanted to show some examples covering that. I had powered it on. Let me at least show you the dashboard for now. I may not be able to run any playbooks. So when I go with Ansible Tower, I'll show you how do you sync with GitHub, how do you prepare your template, how do you bring your Ansible surveys, data models, and all those concepts here.
Okay, thank you. And one more thing that I'm working on a project that for my end, that there is one thing I need to be export or email alert by CSV file through the Ansible. I didn't get chance to get it done.
Okay, CSV file. You want to automate CSV file via Ansible?
No, the automation on the network, I'm looking for specific field in the network, like the simple example, like you talk about get the host name and management IP of that one.
Okay.
So it's a simple example. I'll let you telling you.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay.
So, but by command line, I can get that file because it's saved on the same server. But on the tower, I have difficulty to get it done.
Okay.
You understand my point?
Yeah. So you want to generate some files using this, right?
Yes.
The Ansible Tower.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I can guide you with that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is the tower, and here is where the survey comes. I'll show you this part in the class. How does this work? Okay.
Okay. And this is the right number of WhatsApp to contact you?
Yeah, that is right. So there is a chat or the contacts are put there, so you can use this.
Any period of time we can contact you or?
Yes, you can WhatsApp at this number. Okay, so we will let you know about availabilities, or we are available around the clock, so that's not a problem.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right. So anyone, any other doubt with regards to automation, any project or anything that you are working currently on? Okay, so let's connect over on the class then. So as I told you, the class will start from 18th, that is next Monday. This is going to be 10 to 11 p.m. IST, India timing. So 1 hour I'll take the class, and then the rest 30 minutes is dedicated for the doubt clearing session where you will practice on the script and write your own codes. Okay. All right. So thank you everyone, and see you in the class. Have a nice day, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Sagar.